All right, here we go. Let's go with cognition today, learning, intelligence. Try to share my screen. Okay, so here we go. Information processing. Remember that this ties to memory, kind of like a computer. Remember, you type something in a computer, you click save, and then you'll come back into your folder later and you open it up, right? So that's kind of how memory works. You encode, you store, and you retrieve. Sensory, or that's very brief, like seconds. Okay, then short term and then long term memory. It takes effortful processing and then rehearsal to really get something into long-term memory. Okay, effortful means you have to study, you have to put effort forth remembering something. Rehearsal is doing it time and time and time again, repetitions. Okay, procedural memory, that's muscle memory, thousands and thousands of reps. That is walking, that is throwing, that is writing. Think about like surgery. Okay, procedures like that. A surgeon has an X amount of surgeries in their life, and so now they can do it blindfold. Okay, so it's just procedural memory is muscle memory. Implicit means it does not require our conscious effort. It's muscle memory. It's more automatic. Okay, explicit. Also kind of called declarative memory, that requires our thoughts, that requires our effort, that requires us to try to get into our storage and retrieve something. Overlearning, practicing until it's automatic. Social facilitation, sometimes we do better, we perform better when we know people are watching us. Think about how maybe a crowd pumps up a musician, or a crowd pumps up an athlete, something like that. Social inhibition is the opposite. We do worse when we know we're in a social setting and people are watching. Episodic memory, that is personal to us. It's typically emotional. Sometimes they play out like flashbulb. These are very quick. Personal memories, almost like a really quick flashback. But again, these are very personal. They seem like we're watching an episode of ourselves. Declarative memory, that's just like school, that's recalling AP terms, that's recalling famous dates or important dates in history. That's school knowledge. Okay, declarative memory. Semantic memory, that's basically just remembering the gist of something. You get the big picture, right? But you might not know all the details. Okay, you probably have lots of examples of this in your life, in which you're trying to remember prom last year, or maybe you're trying to remember a big game that you played in. Okay, you remember the gist. You remember you won that game. You remember maybe you scored like the game-winning basket, but you don't remember who got the ball there. You don't remember what the score was. You don't remember what the name of the play was. That kind of stuff. So you have the gist, but you don't have all of the fine details. That's semantic memory. Okay, let's talk about forgetting a little bit. When memory goes wrong, typically this is any kind of error with storage and retrieval. Sometimes it is an error in encoding, but typically if there's an error in encoding, then we don't really put it into our memory in the first place. So probably something with storage, we didn't rehearse it enough, or something with retrieval. Maybe there's something wrong with our neuroscience. A couple types of amnesia. Retrograde amnesia, that's what you think about when you hear amnesia, right? You're not able to recall, you're not able to remember prior events, past events. Anterograde is you're unable to form new memories. Okay, that's the famous HM study, right? Where there was damage to his hippocampus. They were trying to he was having seizures, and they were trying to kind of do some kind of experimental procedure. They damaged his hippocampus, and then he was not able to form new memories. So retrograde, forgetting prior past events. I forgot that, excuse me. What was I say? Oh, retrograde amnesia. Forgetting prior past events. I forgot the capital of Kentucky, something I learned a long time ago. Or I forgot where I parked my car this morning. I go out the wrong door. Okay. Anterograde, unable to form new memories, unable to remember things that you're supposed to be doing. So I'm supposed to pick up my kids after school today. That has not happened yet. I forget to do that. That would be anterograde. Okay. Meeting new people. If I have anterograde amnesia, I won't remember meeting them. Source amnesia, you guys have probably experienced this as well. You have a hard time remembering where you learned something, okay? Whether you learned it in school, outside of school, whether you learned it on social media, whether this person or that person told you something, difficulty remembering where the source of that information came from. Retroactive interference, learning new information hurts your ability to recall old information. Okay, so think about an actor trying to learn new lines. Well, they've already learned a bunch of other lines from a different musical, a different play, a different movie. They've been in all kinds of scenes. So learning new information might, as you're adding new information to your memory, it might be difficult to recall old information. Okay, so learning a whole bunch of new students' names every single year. If I have 150 students, if I learn all these new names, it can be real tough for me to remember names from the past. Okay, proactive interference. Old information hurts your ability to learn new information. Okay, so again, the actor, you're trying to learn these new lines for a play or a musical or whatever, but you keep remembering old lines that you had. So old information is hard to store because new information is hard to store because old information keeps getting in the way. Okay, I had on there, think about maybe basketball plays. Okay, you played high school basketball. And then you go off to college and you're supposed to be learning all this new stuff for college, but the old information from high school keeps getting in your way. Maybe it's because plays are the same name or plays kind of seem the same, but you keep messing up these new plays because the old information is hurting you. That old saying, can't teach a dog new tricks. Reasoning, informal versus formal. Informal reasoning is quick thought responses, fast, they're automatic. Think about heuristics, right? Heuristics, kind of these rules of thumb, these stereotypes, they're shortcuts for thinking. Okay, and we have two types: availability and representative. Get to it in a bit. Top-down processing, remember you're using prior knowledge and experience. Schemas, remember those are your own personal sets, ideas, concepts that help you, as you come across problems. For example, when I come across a problem, I handle it like a teacher handles it because that's my schema, right? That's the concept I always go back to. A mental set, it's kind of similar to schemas. It's a way of thinking that's always worked before. Okay, so when you find yourself in similar situations, you keep coming back to the same schema, the same mental set. Okay, because hard work has paid off for me before, I will continue to keep trying to work hard. Convergent thinking, divergent thinking, you guys know that kind of stuff. Formal reasoning, it's slower, it takes time, it takes effort, it's more formal, right? It's more what you think about maybe in school. Bottom up processing, remember you're gathering as much information as possible to help form a conclusion. You're not reverting back to prior knowledge, prior experience. You're probably coming across something for the first time, so you're trying to gather as much info as possible to help form some kind of a picture, some kind of conclusion. Okay, so that's formal reasoning. It's slower. Algorithm, you guys probably heard that with like computers and stuff, but a detailed step-by-step process. See, divergent thinking, again, you guys know that stuff. Availability, heuristics, it. Availability is kind of stereotypes, shortcuts, and thinking based on information you have readily available. Okay, you've been in a situation similar, so you apply what happened last time to this one. Representative is shortcuts based on how something looks, how similar something is to what you've seen before. Okay, so remember, if someone wears glasses and a sweater vest or something like that, you might think they're nerdy. Okay, you might think they're really into education. You might think they're intelligent. Availability heuristic. Remember, you're going off to vacation. You're really excited to swim in the ocean, and you see some kind of report about sharks. A recent shark attack, and now you think there's a high likelihood of you being attacked by sharks. Okay, because that information is readily available. Anchoring bias, any kind of thought that you have that weighs down the rest of your consciousness, right? So if I have a busy day at work or whatever, but on my way to work, I read some kind of text that was sent to me, and it's a sad article about someone's child maybe getting diagnosed with like cancer, or a teenager in a car accident, something real sad like that. That will distract me. That will impact, because I am a father, because I have two kids, that will impact me, and it'll weigh down my ability to consciously function the rest of the day. Confirmation bias, again, anything you want to think about with politics, we typically, seek out sources or information that supports our own personal opinions. We want confirmation that we're right. So, easy example here, if you lean to the left, if you're more Democratic, you're probably not watching Fox News. If you're more Republican, if you lean to the right, you're probably not watching CNN, okay? Because those would not fit into confirmation bias. You might see that your opinion is not the same as everyone else's. Hindsight bias, I knew it all along, okay? Before the event, you don't know. After the event, oh, yeah, I knew it all along. Belief perseverance, even if you've been presented with information that shows that you are not right, that your opinion was wrong, you still refuse to admit that, okay? So again, Just think about your political beliefs. Okay, even if somebody proves that to be wrong, this about Trump or this about Biden, even if they show you information, they show you facts, they show you data, you refuse to believe it. Okay, you don't want to be wrong. That's belief perseverance. Illusory correlation, just because some things appear to be connected or somewhere doesn't mean that they are. Remember, confounding variables exist. Circumstantial evidence, in like court, superstitions, right? Just because you put on your socks inside out today for your soccer game and you scored a goal doesn't mean putting your socks inside out actually helped you score a goal. Okay, that'd be an illusory correlation. Fixedness, not being able to see a problem from multiple perspectives. A kid is acting like a dirtbag in class, and I think that kid's a dirtbag. I'm not taking into account that there might be other reasons. Okay, there might have been something happen to that kid, a breakup, getting bullied, picked on, something like that led to that behavior. Functional fixedness. That's when you have something that has a function. You don't see it as anything other than that function. Okay, so take a quarter. I see a quarter. It's just a quarter. It's worth 25 cents. I can put it in the vending machine and get a soda. But it could also be used as a screwdriver, right? You could also use that as, I know not a quarter as exactly a coaster, but you could also use it as, what do you call it? Knuckles. If you ever played that game Knuckles with a quarter. But we have a lot of things that that have multiple uses. A baseball bat is used to hit baseballs, but it could also help you reach something on a top shelf, right? It could also help you in a fight or something like that. Intelligence, psychometrics measure intelligence, speed of processing, how quickly we can think and process. Fluid intelligence, back to speed of processing, being able to think and reason quickly, abstractly, thinking outside the box. Crystallized intelligence, that's more what you think about with school, data, facts, vocab, stuff like that. Savant, you're incredibly gifted in one area, such as numbers, but limited in others, spelling, reading. Prodigies, eugenics. Remember, eugenics is, kind of picking and choosing who you should mate together. That way we can have really intelligent children. Alfred Binet, remember, he came up with this concept of a mental age, the age that the child is operating, right? You could be 10 years old, but operating at an 8-year-old level. Chronological age, again, that's your actual age. So you take your mental age, you divide it by your chronological age, you times it by 100, and there's your measure of intelligence for Binet. Spearman, he had the theory of G, this general intelligence. We all have general intelligence, okay? The two-factor analysis says we all have general intelligence and we all have specific intelligence. You add your general intelligence to your specific intelligence, and that gives you, your intelligence level, okay? So we all have general intelligence, but you might be incredibly gifted in the sciences, right? Your specific intelligence. Sternberg's triarchic theory of intelligence. There's three: practical, experiential, and analytical. Practical, can you function in life? Do you have street smarts? Experiential, ability to problem solve, think outside the box. You come across something for the first time and you can make sense of it. Analytical, that's your typical education. That's traditional intelligence. The Wechsler intelligence, you have that for the adults, WAIS, and you have that for the children. Remember, the difference here was performance, nonverbal performance, such as pictures you can solve looking at them, puzzles you can solve hands-on. Howard Gardner had his 8 forms of intelligence. Remember, that was like interpersonal, intrapersonal, the science, the math, verbal, linguistic, kinesthetic of the body. The Sapir-Whorf theory, that's linguistic determinism and linguistic relativism. Determinism basically says, language, the language we speak. So English, right? The language we speak helps us determine our thought process, our thinking, and our learning. It might be different, if you speak Latin. It might be different if you speak Japanese. I mean, think about the difference in reading top to bottom, stuff like that. It's not the same across all languages. Relativism is thinking is different for different languages. Okay, so now we understand there are differences, and I can't remember what it is, like Russian or I can't remember now, but one of those languages, European languages, like doesn't have a word for the color pink. And think about this, we don't have a word for light blue. We call it light blue, okay? Or maybe we call it baby blue or Carolina blue, but we don't actually have a word for that light blue, that sky blue, okay? We just have a bunch of different other adjectives that we throw in there, okay? So relativism, there's differences amongst the languages, and we think differently based on that language, okay? Man, that was quick. All right, so I try to get through it quick. A lot of this stuff should be pretty easy for you, that I think you guys probably remember. So keep up with these. Make sure you are watching them, reviewing them, taking notes on them. Again, going back into your reviews and making sure the reviews match up. So make sure you're taking time to actually use these to your advantage. All right, thanks.